Okay. All right, guys, we are live, and Rocky Top may be playing too. I can't tell on my end. Welcome, Alexis Hornbuckle, Coach Joanne P. McCallie to the Buck and 2MC show. I want to point out we got a Tar Heel, that being me, a Lady Vol, and a Blue Devil right here. So we're going to have to take this show on the road whenever this pandemic's over.
Yes.
I agree.
Joanne, thank you so much, or Coach P, as people call you, for joining us to talk about your book, which I have right here, Secret Warrior. You can get it at your website, coachp.org. I believe, is that correct? Coachp.org.
Yep, that's correct.
Amazon, any local, go to your independent bookseller and ask them to order it. Any bookseller can get it. Mm-hmm. Alexis, what is the one thing you want to ask Coach Joanne McCallie right now that you have always wanted to ask her?
Oh, why'd you have to beat us in the final?
Oh, you can't do that. Bring up my single most memorable by far moment in the whole wide world. And I tell you, my heart, I don't know if you ever heard the story, but when we shook hands after and Pat came towards me and said congratulations in a very firm handshake, I said, I'm sorry. And that's exactly what I said. I didn't know what to feel or what to think. And that's what I said. I said, I'm sorry.
That's wow. Very humble of you. No, y'all earned it. I mean, y'all came back from like a 16-point deficit. So yeah, that would just hurt me. So I just wondered why you had to do that my freshman year,
And look what happened after that. You were amazing. Look that was the impetus. That was the start of something amazing.
I'm gonna agree with that. I'm definitely gonna agree with that.
Coach P, I forgot until I read your book that Samika Randall and Al Brown were on that staff. So Alexis, you didn't just get beat by Michigan State. You got beat by a former Lady Vol on top of that. That's just painful for Tennessee, that game.
Exactly.
What are your memories of Samika Randall and Al Brown?
Oh, they're fond memories. Al, I worked a long time with. Al's been very special to me for many years. I remember talking to Pat before I hired Al and the conversation we had, and that was very special. So I have a lot of great things to say about Al. And of course, he won a lot of rings with Pat back in the day. And Samika, I mean, tons of energy, just a great spirit. And she just offered a great deal. And it was very special to have both of them on staff. And I'm sure that was part of the whole thing relative to the success we had.
And we can see comments coming in. I don't know if you can see them on the side, but we've got hello from Indiana, Frostburg, Maryland. Thank you for doing this. Beth Edwards, that loss to MSU was awful. Denise Tagg is from Indiana and said that game crushed my soul.
And that game gave me soul, gave me okay. And by the way, we won't talk about the national championship. We won't talk about Baylor. We'll just stay right here in that semifinal.
And I remember I was watching that game courtside, of course, in media, and I'm like, Tennessee's about to lose this game. And we have had Brittany Jackson on shows too. And I said, Brittany, Dan Flesser, longtime Lady Ball beat writer, we're looking at each other like, why will Pat not put Brittany Jackson in? At least she could hit a shot. I mean, but Candace was redshirting and lobbying on the bench to get a uniform on, and Jenny Moshak's telling her absolutely not. So, but I mean, you earned it. That was an incredible game. And I think a lot of Lady Ball fans were pulling for you against Baylor because that's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. And yeah, we didn't quite deliver, unfortunately. But it was my only time in a Final Four national championship as a head coach. So it was great memories.
Nice. Laura Ward said that game was awful, coming home early with Andy Landers falling asleep on my shoulder on the flight home. Long story. That'll be another show.
Okay. Now that's some kind of Stephen King novel right there. Andy Landers.
Especially with all that stuff he puts in his hair.
And he still does that. FYI, he still does that.
Leslie Proud said, howdy from Texas, already reading your book, Coach P and Trish Jackson. Welcome, Coach P, and thanks so much for your openness ordering your book at this moment. Again, that's coachp.org or any of your major retailers, your independent bookstores, Amazon. That's why we're having you here too. This is, one hell of a book. I've gotten 3/4 of the way through it, and it's a easy and read that you can get through. It's just I work all the time, so I have to carve out like 20 minutes to read at night. So, but it is a fantastic book. You go into an issue that is not talked about enough, but permeates every arena, particularly sports, and that is mental health. Mm-hmm. And the way it is stigmatized and treatment is simply not. I mean, the part that broke my heart is you had to hide this from your own administration because you were afraid that if people knew you were bipolar, you would not be able to work.
Yeah, that was definitely concerning. Remember, my diagnosis was 25 years ago, a long time ago. And the stigmas at that point were incredible. I had never heard the term bipolar. When I worked with my team, I mean, the book is a lot about loyalty. And I have to say, Maria, reading this book is about loyalty. We got some books going here. Now, wait a minute. One does not compare to the other. What I'm saying is the final season is one of the greatest books I've ever read. And I can't believe the collection of details and what Maria has done here for all of Tennessee Nation. And so it's been interesting to read this and read the loyalty element of all the Tennessee players, especially that class, that special class, Carter's class, I think it was. There are so many names. And of course, I know all the Tennessee women by name, and that speaks to the way Pat was and the way her program was. But we've been having fun with this book thing. And the final season is just remarkable. My book is sort of, I don't know, it's wonderful in its own right, yes, but it's a much easier read. The details of what you do here, Maria, are pretty spectacular. So we are talking about 2 books tonight, and they're both very special.
Alexis, where's your book? Your book has got to be coming, man.
Listen, it is coming. It is coming. I need to go ahead and write it. I'll just, full transparency, I'm like, what am I going to put in it? My life has been a whirlwind in so many different ways. And then there's, I don't want to tell too much. I don't want to, come off wrong. And then some of it is I don't want to be judged. So, yeah.
Oh, come on, Alexis, be judged. Come on. Tell us.
Every day by people, right? So I should. No, it's definitely coming. Maria, I might get with you sooner rather than later. We can get this thing done.
Yeah. The key is an outline and writing an outline of how am I going to write this book? Not a detail, but this is the part and this is the part. And so it can be done. And as you know, Alexis, I'll help you with anything. Coach P, I think there's a second book in you. I'm reading it and thinking, I got more questions about this story. So there's another book in you. So we're going to get that out of you. But you mentioned how young you were. How did you come to terms with your diagnosis, and how difficult was that? I mean, you were under the age of 30 and you're dealing with a very significant diagnosis.
Yes, it was very difficult and surprising. And my path went from Auburn, and then at 26 being a head coach at the University of Maine, as you know. But Pat was one of my references, along with Sue Gunter and Joe Champy, to get me the job at Maine. So there I was at Maine. I followed Trish Roberts, another Tennessee person. And so, of course, there's this enormous pressure to do well, especially in your home state. And at 30, I was diagnosed. It was 1 year after having my daughter. And I can't explain it because it was a manic episode. And during a manic episode, everything feels and looks pretty good. You're sort of on a high, and you're too high. But a lot of people just think it's exciting and great. People that know you very well, see that your speech kind of gets fast and sees your or hears your grandiose visions that might just go a little bit too far. And one of my proud moments of the book is actually with a recruit. I kind of lost sense of reality. And I told the recruit that the TV was in fact talking to both of us. And because we could laugh it off, and because she was so secure and funny, Jamie ends up coming to Maine, and we win numerous championships, and she's part of huge success. But that story is actually very true. And my husband had to grab the phone for fear of what I might say further. So it can really hit you, and it can hit you hard, and you often don't know it, especially a first-time episode.
You mentioned your players, and I'm not going to give away details of the book because I want people to buy it. I mean, you've got to buy this book, Secret Warrior, a coach and fighter on and off the court. But you mentioned an incident in the hospital, and you were not there voluntarily, to say the least. And you smartly were able to get a hold of some of your players. I mean, I was really impressed with your ingenuity and ability to cling to something for yourself during that stay. But what do you remember about those kids and how they rallied for you at that moment? And I know you mentioned that part of you felt guilt for involving them, but what does that say about those young ladies and their perseverance and fight for their coach?
It says incredible things about loyalty. And this was back in the day where there were no cell phones, no way to communicate. And I had to find my cute little notebook to find the numbers. And it was not a fair or right thing to call those players. Obviously, I scared them, but I was very clear with them that I was being held against my will and I needed to get out to get back to the team. So that was a very powerful time, being in that hospital, being in there against my will and not quite understanding why most of the time I was there.
Alexis, I know we were tag teaming on these questions. I know you've got some. What do you want to ask Coach P?
So I know, like, when it comes to mental health, like I struggle with anxiety and depression. But how do people identify triggers? You know, what kind of helps them? And like, is it important? I know it's important, but I just want to hear your answer. Is it important for them to start to realize where those triggers are coming from? And what can they do to stay away from those triggers, to try to help their selves out as much as possible?
Yeah, there are so many triggers, and one of them is sleep, a basic trigger. We are made to sleep, regardless of what people say. I don't need a lot of sleep. I can live off 4 hours or whatnot. Sleep and sleep habits are incredibly important, and they can trigger all sorts of things with brain health. Obviously, choices we make, alcohol and drugs and all this type of thing, this will affect our brain and can cause so much trouble. On top of that, traumas. We all have had traumas in our life. Sometimes we're willing to talk about them and sometimes we're not. But traumas hold deep and the scars run deep. And I've been in therapy for a long time. I have self-analyzed more than most people. And I wish everybody had a therapist. Everybody in the world needs a therapist. Somebody objective to talk to, who you can share things with, where it's totally confidential. And I've been very fortunate to have some great support in therapists and doctors and all the people that have helped me. But there are serious triggers, and the pandemic has caused enormous triggers. The lack of routine, the lack of human connection. I could go on and on about what's been going on. And it just turns out I was writing this book as I was exiting Duke. It was not connected to the pandemic. It turns out that it might be now connected to the pandemic in terms of when it was published. But there are so many things. And exercise, even if you're not a great athlete, we're not all like Alexis, okay? She could do all these things. And believe me, we could not stop her at all, okay? But the reality is you need exercise, even if you're walking, even if you're outside. You have to care for your body and mind. You only have one of each. And it seems sometimes we forget that care is so important. And then some big time things happen, big time stressors, and then you can launch yourself into all sorts of really challenging spaces.
I want to shout out our sponsors, and Lex, I'll let you keep going. OrangeMountainDesigns.com, they're our lead sponsor. If you want to save some green on St. Patrick's Day, free shipping, use the code Shamrock. Minimum order of $30 at OrangeMountainDesigns.com. Orange Mountain Designs is run by Terry Holder, who in 2008 started this small woman business for Lady Vol Apparel because Pat Summitt asked her to. And she says, Pat said, we need better stuff. We need our own store. And that's what she's done. And she's kept it going through the diagnosis of Pat, the death of Pat, the Lady Vols trying to get back to their national prominence, and a pandemic. So shout out to strong women. Also, Tennessee Tap House and Blue Water Climate Control. All right, Alexis, I'll throw it back to you for more questions.
Thank you, Maria. I appreciate that. Okay, Coach P. So during your time when you were dealing with this, you had to hide it from the athletic administration. Do you think that's the case today? Like, if you were coaching right now, do you think you would still make that same decision?
I think that our health is very private. And I think if you have a reason to share it, you share it. I know at Maine, I was not capable of sharing it. And there was much speculation about a coach being out for 2 weeks, about exhaustion. What did that really mean? So there was lots of speculation, but the team really helped me move forward. And I compartmentalized it very well at Maine and extremely well at Michigan State. At Michigan State, I didn't even have a therapist, and my doctor was in Maine. So I was really balanced, healthy, and excited about the 7 years I had there and that fun run that we had. And at Duke, because it was such a challenging job, I got a therapist, but I still had my doctor back in Maine. And then some time had passed, and my doctor in Maine retired. And so I got a new doctor, actually living in Chapel Hill, of all places. So the support was there. The Michigan State administration never knew, and there was never really a reason to know. The Duke administration did know, and there was also a reason to know when I had a kidney complication. So like anything, like high blood pressure or a heart condition, diabetes, like anything, you're probably not going to come out with it unless there's a reason to come out with it. And so that's, that's the way it is. And then right now I'm out with it. And I don't know, Alexis, to get to your point, I don't know if anyone would hire me. I mean, people might say, yeah, I'm a pretty good coach. I'm all right. I'm not bad.
Yeah. But no, you really are. But it's crazy just how the stigma behind it. And you mentioned that earlier. Do you think it's gotten any better in the athletics?
Oh, it's gotten better. And part of your generation, Alexis, as I speak, I think I know your age, sort of. I think I do. But part of your generation, especially the women out of the WNBA, you see all this incredible representation. Well, this generation is getting more comfortable to me and talking about a lot of things. Okay. Right. Mental health, equity, you name it, people are talking. And the WNBA in particular has had a lead role. So I feel like your generation has a chance to really push mental impairment even further relative to help, to support, counseling, and all the things that are necessary for us to be at our best. I still think there's incredible ignorance at all different levels, of course. Would somebody discriminate against me? Absolutely. Yeah. And would somebody try to mistake my behavior as a coach and say, oh, I saw that bipolar thing back in the day, when in fact, it wasn't. It was just me. So that kind of thing can happen. There can be statements that aren't clear or aren't correct, but that's part of the deal. And when I wrote Secret Warrior, I knew it'd be part of the deal. Secret Warrior is singular as a title, but it's plural in nature because it's about a lot of warriors in the book that make a difference in my life.
Right. Go ahead.
San Garcia's here. That's Alexis's partner, and she played at Wake Forest. And Wake Forest just got in the tournament, so go Demons. Yes. What is it about devil mascots here with the ACC? All their demons and Blue Devils, and
I know, right? It's a little demonic.
Yeah. I'm speaking as a lifelong Tar Heel. So she asked, what would you say to someone who has never been to therapy and may have mixed feelings about therapists in general? That's for you, Coach P.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's very scary to go to therapy. I think if you're thinking about it, one reason to go would be to find out, to give yourself a chance to be better. I don't know all therapists, and I know all therapists aren't the greatest, and there are different kinds, but I can tell you, talking to someone neutral, talking to someone who has none of your baggage, your family baggage, your trauma baggage, or anything about you, is a cathartic kind of thing. And being able to have that conversation, and unfortunately, many therapists are too expensive. And these are things I would like to address relative to healthcare and accessibility. But having that time with somebody to connect outside of all your own human connections is exactly what you need. That's where truth is told. And I'll be quite frank, a lot of tears are shed. I still cry a lot. I don't know if it's my Italian or British side, but a good cry goes a long way.
I want to point out too that St. Patrick was actually Italian, and it is St. Patrick's Day. So.
Maria, I can't believe you said that. I used that. I told that once, I think, to Kevin White, who's so Irish. I think I made the point, by the way, let's keep it real. That's a great point.
Molly Horston, M-A-L-I, is with us too. She comes to every show. This is Jordan Horston's mama. Jordan Horston is a current Lady Vol point guard.
Yep.
And she's a big supporter and a big advocate for mental health. So she is very glad that you are here and doing this. You mentioned the treatments, which, I mean, the treatments have gotten much better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the hospital experiences have gotten much better. Mm-hmm. But you also talked about gaps in the system. I mean, if you have access to health care and health insurance, but so many people fall through those gaps. How do we make this a national response? And how critical is this that it becomes a national response?
Well, awareness is key. And we have our hashtag stories over stigmas. And I think telling stories becomes very important. And then, of course, there's action behind the story. I know for me and my family, we're starting a foundation. Okay, the foundation will be dedicated to mental health. And the monies in the foundation will go for different things, maybe even testifying before Congress relative to mental health and the things that can change, or perhaps providing private dollars so more people can have access at an earlier age, or perhaps there can be more therapy in high schools. There's so many different ways to talk about it, but also too, psychiatry needs to be valued more in our country. Just the whole thing about psychiatry. It's low on the totem pole of medicine. And you think about it, it's like trying to figure the mind out. It's like surgery of the mind. And there are so many nuances relative to what medicines affect different people. What works for somebody does not work for somebody else. Mm-hmm. The diagnoses are very complicated. So there's an enormous amount of work to do. And I'll continue to be a motivational speaker and an advocate. You don't make money off books. I mean, Maria, you might have made money off your book, but generally speaking, it's really hard to do that. And so it's the talks, it's the motivational speaking in order to generate the funds. And on a side note, Jordan's amazing. And yes, we did recruit her and she would say no, but that's okay. I still love her family. I love where she's from, and she can really play. And I can't wait to see the Lady Vols in the NCAA tournament.
I want to remind everybody, CoachP.org. We've got Coach Joanne P. McCallie. I understand. I am Maria M. Cornelius. I understand the need for that middle initial. And Orange Mountain Designs is our primary sponsor, and Sansa wants to join the show. And that is my dog. There's the free shipping. Use code Shamrock, $30 or more, orangemountaindesigns.com, Tennessee Tap House, and Blue Water Climate Control. And Alexis, I know you got more questions. Fire away some.
I know I do have a whole lot of questions. Don't worry, guys. We won't go over the hour, okay? I will contain
and if we go over on this show, we'll do brackets later. I mean, we don't have to talk about brackets long. We could run this over.
Yeah, I love this. I love this conversation. It's a much needed conversation. I just actually recently sat in about a 3-hour meeting that covered mental health and different, treatments, new treatments, such as ketamine, things like that. And I love it because I'm really new to my own journey, my own mental health journey, and really figuring it out and getting what works for me. Because I'm not taking pills. I mean, I do because I have to, but I don't want to. I want to really find that balance. And just, I don't know, just having you on here just made me smile. As soon as Maria told me, I was hyped. So thank you for joining us, Coach P. Let's talk about, we live in a microwave.
Alexis, can we go back to the medicine thing for a second?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, because as athletes, I mean, I'm not the athlete that you are, but I played basketball too. And the thought of putting anything in our bodies, like we're just so against that. In talking to student athletes across the board, no matter what the issues are, nobody wants to take the medicine. And I was so crazy, I went off my meds. And by going off my meds, I had some lessons that were just incredible. And so I just want to remind everybody that we're always going to seek balance. And we're going to do that through exercise, through eating well, through prayer, faith, whatever way we reach our balance. But meds are key. And meds are part of our wonderful brain, that what's in there and how it works. And I'm a huge advocate to try to get student athletes in particular to let go and understand that you're really looking for your best self. And I love the fact that you're so into what you're doing and taking and studying medicine. Everybody should be a chemist. Everybody should study the brain and brain health. But I've been taking meds for a long time. I was really worried of weight gain. Oh gosh, all those things as athletes. I asked a lot of questions and we did a lot of experimenting, me and my doctors. But if you got that trust, it's so important for people to take their medicine.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And you're right. As an athlete, I'm like, I'll take what I have to take, I guess. That's really my approach. So you're right. Interesting. I didn't think about that. And okay, so we live in like a microwave era, right? Everything can be found on the internet. Mm-hmm. And you know this oh so well because really what happened to you. So once that information came out, what was it, like a fan forum or a blog or something? How jolting was that? Like I want to know initial feeling, and then what did you do to get yourself back level to handle it properly?
Well, I think you're referring to the blog mentioning lithium.
Yeah.
The lithium blog.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't on there very long, that's for sure. But I will say I was pretty shocked. Remember, I come from Michigan State. And there was nothing that had happened at Michigan State. It just was 7 years of just go, go, go. And so in coming to Durham, obviously I was trying to replace a legend. Gail is pretty spectacular. And so right. That was hard for so many people and for a lot of bloggers. And so it was just something that was up there. And I told my husband, don't you ever get on those blogs again. They are ridiculous. And he should have known better, frankly. But no, it struck, just as you said, it hit to the core because I know there's always speculation. There's always rumor, negative recruiting, guesswork, and all of that. But to have someone put lithium on there in terms of, yes, that's exactly what I did take. The accuracy of it. Right. I was like, ouch, where did that information come from? People could say I'm crazy or I'm this or I'm that, but nobody knew lithium. That was a tough one. Yeah, it's sad that people really are so bitter and inhumane to the point where you're careless. You think, just get this out because I'm trying to get something accomplished, your own selfish agenda, not thinking about the person or people that you're hurting. Come on, guys, we got to do better, society. We have to do better. Okay. Yeah. Coach Sandra Garcia said, Coach P, you seem so nice off the court. Laugh out loud. JK, I always respected your coaching style, play, and you as a coach. And thank you for being on this show, speaking about so many topics that are important to athletes and people in general. That is nice, Sam. That is really nice. And I think coaches are fun. I think coaches have a good time. I think we're pretty intense. And if you're not going to hustle, look, you know it. If you're not going to hustle or go rebound or get after the ball, you're going to get yelled at. I mean, if you don't spend the time and do the work, stay in the gym, you're going to be held accountable. I mean, that's just the way coaches are. But the love thing, the developing people, you can't be in the profession for 28 years or longer and not just love the players. And they don't all love you. I'm not saying that. They don't. No. But you do love them, and you always love them because they're younger, they're learning. You're always trying to understand and handle conflict, handle the good times, handle the bad times. I miss it. I miss the players, especially at this time of year. This March Madness thing. I mean, we can talk brackets if you want to talk brackets. I mean, I think I'm going through withdrawal a little bit.
We'll get the brackets, and you should stay with us. I want to say Tammy Brown is from Cary, North Carolina, is in the chat too on the comments. That's Tamari Key's mama. We really need a mama to come in of one of your former players here. We got mamas coming in who went to Tennessee instead of Duke.
I mean, what does it say for recruiting? Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm so proud of Tamara Key. Her mom is special anyway, but what she's doing at Tennessee, I mean, kudos to Coach. I mean, Kelly and the entire staff, she's turned into a monster. And I mean that in the best and most lovable sense. Triple double she had. And I've been watching her just with attitude, her body language, the way she's moving. It's so great to see her. She's come such a long way, and she's got a lot to give. There's a lot more left there.
And I was talking to Tammy after the recruiting process, and she had nothing but good things to say about Duke. It's just Tamari wanted to go to Tennessee, and
I understand. As a lot of players, that happened a lot. Thank you, Coach. I love Coach. You're great, Coach. But I want to go to Tennessee. And that happened recently with one of your players as well. So before I left Duke. So it's something you had to deal with and I had to cope with, but was also understood.
Yeah, if you lose a recruit to Pat Summit or Tennessee, I imagine it doesn't sting as bad. But also, if you're thinking, wow, if Pat wanted him or Tennessee wanted him, that's a really good player. So it's sort of both sides there.
Well, and you're dealing with a legend. I mean, the schools, it's all competitive and everyone can say anything they want. But when you're talking about Pat, it's the whole picture. It's the whole deal. And the thing about it is the honesty surrounding the stories. Some players saying this bothered me. Some players saying I love this. It was sort of it was sort of the shared stories in the book. I mean, there's the authenticity of what's being said here is what coaching is all about. Everyone's telling their side of the story. And then, of course, when things get most difficult, the coming together of the teams, of the players, of everyone, of every generation that Pat ever coached. It's just extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary.
And I want to follow up with something. You mentioned, the fact that you are very open about mental health. You will be put under a microscope if you're coaching. I mean, Pat's last season, when she coached with people knowing she had early onset dementia, my God, it was a piercing spotlight every single game. Yeah. And I'm thinking coaches' behavior on the sideline is not of sane people. They are not sane during those 2 hours, the way coaches act on the sideline. And that would be hard because you would be getting picked apart. And that's sad. We've got to find a way, because there is no reason if you wanted to return to coaching that you should not be a candidate on school's list. I mean, that would make no sense to me that you're not. And a diagnosis of a recognized mental health disorder should not preclude you from consideration. That's just wrong. And no other employer can get away with that. That's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's life. I don't know about timing. I don't know what my calling is relative to, am I supposed to coach with a bigger group and really stick with mental health advocacy, talking to student athletes, trying to make effect? I mean, the suicides have bothered me tremendously in ways that really have touched me deeply. A former teammate's daughter taking her life, being in that church and knowing what I know about mental health and not telling my story. So the suicides have really been something I've thought about a lot. And I don't think you can stop them. If somebody really wants to do that, you can interject more openness about how people are feeling. And if they're not alone, and they really think they're not alone, and they've got other stories, maybe of a Division I head coach who played or coached in a national title, maybe they can feel like it's not just me, it's other people too. And that's part of the message. So I don't know if I'll coach again on the sidelines. That's to be seen. I can't be sure of that. But I will be coaching, and I am coaching very hard this year, trying to, again, stories over stigmas and mentorship matters. Be good to you. These are all the things that are so important to taking care of yourself and taking care of others.
I love that phrase, be good to you. I smiled when I read that because I say that to people in text messages, be good to yourself, because I feel like it needs to be told to people. People are not good to themselves. They don't tell themselves good things. Just why is that phrase so important to you that people hear it, not only hear it, but do it?
Well, Maria, I think you are not only an author and so many things, but I think you have a mind of a therapist. I do. In your writing, the way you write and the way you've written this book, my therapist would, every time I left, say, be good to you. And she said, no matter what, she said every single time. And I thought, boy, it's strange how she keeps repeating that. And then here I am now, #city, trying to bring attention to mental health and be good to you. I don't think you understand that meaning until later in life. And Alexis, you got to get this, meaning your age group, because like we're older, okay? So we can talk older. But you are in an age group where being good to you, you sometimes step over that because you're like, yeah, I'm being good to me. What are you talking about? It's a deeper thing. In the time that you take, if faith is important to you, it is to me, it is to many people. Taking the time for you to really dig deep. And we had that therapy question, right? If you feel nervous about a therapist, that's being good to you. Going to a therapist is saying, I matter.
Right.
I got to find out some things, and I'm going to be good to me.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Maria definitely texts that often. She always tells me that. Be safe, be good to yourself. Mm-hmm. Take care of yourself, Lex. She reminds me all the time. So thank you, Maria, for that. Coach P, you mentioned faith a couple of times, tonight throughout the show. What led you to explore your faith? I'm big in faith. I love God. I love Jesus Christ. Like that's me all day, every day. But what led you to explore that? And then how did that help you get to where you're at now as far as like your overall health being good?
Sure. It's helped me tremendously. And in my opinion, life is better with God. It's just very simple. That's what I believe. But I'm a late bloomer, over 50, in understanding faith. And of course, I started praying because of melanoma back in the day. That was sort of humbling to recognize you could have this dreaded disease and it could be very serious. But then I wondered who exactly I was praying to. And so I thought more about it. And then when I really picked my head up, I realized there were a lot of people around me that had great faith and could talk the word and all sorts of things about the Bible that I never understood. And I think the fortification of the whole thing was those great friends. They were mostly in East Lansing at that time. And then they were also college friends as well. But when I was at Duke, it became some of the players. And having faith with a team is a very special thing. And I remember, to be politically correct, I had to ask them, do you mind if I use some of my morning devotional work with you personally or with the team? And they all said, absolutely. Every player on the team. And we all felt we needed it. So I came to it later, over 50, actually got a couple tattoos, which everyone thought was really cool. I didn't realize, Maria, do you have a tattoo? And if you don't have a tattoo, I think you need to get one.
She's rolling up the sleeves.
I love it. Well, for me, it was kind of like this. See, I can't.
Oh, it's on the wrist. It's on the wrist.
Oh, it's John. Which it's Bible verses, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know.
14:27 and Esther.
Esther 4:14. 4:14. See, because one is, do not let your heart be troubled. Do not be afraid. Well, I've spent a lot of my life being afraid. And John 14:27 kept coming up when I was a rookie at this. And I thought, this is really strange. It keeps coming up. Do not let your heart be troubled. Do not let it be afraid. And I was getting past fears. So, of course, I had to put it on there. And that kind of stings a lot. I don't know if you recognize, but the wrist area, that's a very sensitive area. But Esther 4:14, such a time as this, and reading the book of Esther, and also going over the book of Esther, because I'm a rookie, and reading the book of Esther in the Old Testament is kind of hard to dissect and figure out what the story is all about. And so I had a long discussion with a dear friend, a very strong Christian, and I related to Esther. myself in a very, very big way. So there they are. They're together on each wrist. And if I need a lot of love and help, I just rub them together like that.
I love it. I actually have Let Not Your Heart Be Troubled tatted on my back. My whole back is like one big canvas for Christianity and quotes and, you know, just strength things like down my spine, what are my steps? What else do I have? Jeez, I don't even remember them all. This is bad. I have like 16, 17 tattoos though. That's why I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. They're there.
They're there. A family that prays together, stays together with the prayer hands and the hornbuckles, you know, on the sleeve, and my parents and my brother and myself. Our initials on there. I don't know.
Alexis, have you always had faith in your life since you were a little girl?
Oh yeah, I grew up in the church. I know you could probably, a lot of people probably couldn't tell when I was young and wild, but I did. Both of my grandfathers, both, you know, my maternal and paternal grandfather pastored their own churches in their respective cities. My mother is now an evangelist, so she was a minister going through the church, as was my dad. Now both of them preach. My dad's a pastor. Yeah. I was at every service.
Well, sometimes I wonder, as someone who did not have that, like, what would I have been? You know, if I had gotten that figured out. I mean, we're talking over 50, Alexis. I'm over 50 getting baptized in the freezing water of Maine.
Yeah, but you understood your entire baptism. I'm laughing at Miss Horston right now because she said the church kids are usually the ones. You're right. As soon as I tell people I'm a PK, they're like, oh. And I'm like, what does that mean? No, I know exactly what it means. Yeah. I think Coach, it could have went either way. I mean, I have a lot of friends also that we grew up in the church together. And some of them, you know, they got it early. They latched on. They became young ministers. They became involved in the church from an early age and are still doing that. For myself, I just always heard the word no. And I always heard, you know, like I was always in church and I could never really do anything. So for me, I wanted to do the exact opposite in high school and college. And even, you know, my probably first 6 years in the pros, like that's where I was at with it. So I think it can go either way. But
I love that. Now you made me feel good with that explanation. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say, but I do wonder about that. And,
yeah, it went either way. So you got saved at the exact time you were supposed to. That's all that matters.
Appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Maria, we got anything else in the
Trina Ammons is in here. She said, I'm bipolar and I'm a paramedic. A lot of problems with mental health being a paramedic.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I can imagine. And Coach P, that's part of why we have you in here, is just to let people talk about this and share their stories and try to bring some normalcy to something that should not be treated as so unusual.
Gosh, and I tell you, a paramedic, okay, first of all, just think about it. Think about the hours. Think about how her life is always kind of up and down and good and bad and saving people and not. I think about sleep patterns. I think about medicine, trying to get good sleep when you need good sleep. So my heart just, you know, when I hear the different stories, we're all different. And the continuum of mental impairment is wide, it's vast. But just being able to share and talk about it. Some of us, you know, the labels are hard, you know, bipolar 1, bipolar 2, different things that are said. But the reality is it's brain health. And when our brain leaves us, it's just truly the scariest thing. It's an awful thing. I mean, think about surgery. If you fix your arm, that's wonderful. If you fix your arm, but if you don't have your mind, that's the most incredible experience. And all I can say is hang in there. And being a paramedic, I mean, that's a warrior. Somebody who is bipolar and a paramedic and delves into that kind of life, all I can say is you're amazing. And I hope you will be good to you because you need to be.
There you go, Trina. I hope you heard every word. We know a lot about how the heart works, kidneys, liver, stomach. we have barely scraped the surface of how the brain works. What a complicated organ, and there's still so much we do not know. I mean, we talked about how there's better treatments and medications now than there were in the 90s when you were dealing with this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There was a book, Sally Jenkins' book, Sum It Up. It's a definitive book on Pat Summitt. If anybody has not read it, read it. She has some pieces in there with Pat, and this is after Pat's won 1,000 games and 8 national titles. And she asked Pat about what she was going to do. And she goes, and this was before she was diagnosed even. She goes, I don't know. I feel like there's something different I should be doing. And what Pat has done with her foundation is I mean, a clinic has opened up at UT Medical Center. The Pat Summitt Foundation is doing work around the country and grants and research. You mentioned your foundation and that you may not return to the sideline. Maybe like Pat, there's something else you're supposed to be doing right now. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I wonder. I think about that and I pray about that. And we're just at the beginning. You know, we're at the beginning of Secret Warrior, what it can do, how it can reach out. Is there another book? I don't know. The foundation right now, I just have my attorneys talking about how to, make the foundation. Again, when you write a book, you kind of go in the red a lot. I think Maria kind of knows this. There's a lot of cash that goes out the door and nothing that comes in the door. And again, you don't make money off the sale of books, although you want the book everywhere and you want the story everywhere. And then where that can be taken, I don't know. I really want pharmaceuticals to step up. I know the drugs that I have taken all my life. I would love those pharmaceutical firms to get me a podcast where people could call in anonymously and ask me direct questions about mental health, about being in a hospital, about medicine, and the things I know from a coach perspective. I'm not a doctor, not a psychiatrist, not a therapist, but a lot of people like to talk to coaches. And a lot of people will listen to coaches, especially a coach that was bipolar or took lithium when I was pregnant. I mean, that's a strange one. And a lot of the research has not been done for women. This is true. I hate to say this because it sounds bad, but it's true. Women are superior. However, the medicine does not reflect that because there aren't too many, let's just say, experiments about pregnant women taking lithium. Let's just call it like it is, right? So there's a lot of work to be done in all facets. And, the foundation is going to be special. And eventually my children and a board will run it because I will be long gone as my husband. And you have to ask yourself, what's your legacy? What are you leaving behind? How can you better other people? And you got to listen carefully. What is your true calling? What are you supposed to be doing? And that's a hard question to answer.
Kenny Hicks said, wow, some of us needed this. It's amazing to see people of your stature open up. Thank you. And I agree because if you can put someone's face on a disease, it makes it easier to talk about, easier to understand. And I appreciate you. You're taking one for the team here with doing this, and it is appreciated.
Well, thank you. And I am now the bipolar coach. I was warned, Alexis, you'll appreciate this. Somebody said to me, Joanne, you do this. When you do this, Coach P will be gone forever. I said, what do you mean? I'll be Coach P for life. All that, social media stuff. And then she said to me, no, you'll be the bipolar Coach P. Yep. And I said, well, if that's what it's going to take, I guess that's what I'm going to be. As far as I'm concerned, I'm Coach P, who has a mood disorder called bipolar, and I feel really good about brain health. And that's how I feel about me.
I want to plug the book again. Let me get it in the screen. Secret Warrior. I think you can see it. It's at coachp.org. Any major bookseller, Amazon. There we go.
There it is.
That's a. I love that cover. That's
basketball. It's tough.
Thank you, Alexis. Way to say it. Yes.
Yeah.
That ball. I mean, what is that ball saying to us? What is that ball?
Different thing. I mean, I don't know. I'm weird, but the ball in it, obviously it's basketball, so it's a representation of what you played and what you coached. Put the picture back up, please, Bobby. I'm a visual. I gotta see it. Thanks, bro. but also just how it's about to just explode at the seams with something just bright and exciting. It can be knowledge. It can be something magical. It can be something that changes the game. The game in this particular case being, your mind.
Yeah, isn't it neat how that orange ball has brought us all together? I mean, here we are from all different spaces and places, and there's that orange ball, and of course it is kind of, I guess that's neurons. I'm not sure what the artist was really going with that ball.
Yeah, it's something scientific though. I like it.
Yeah, it's got some kind of buzz to it. And the Secret Warrior, just so you know, warrior, of course, is a fighter, but the secondary definition is a balance. Warrior has great balance, definitely fights. And so that's where the singular name came from. And then getting the folks in the book, the warriors, the players, and all to talk was quite an experience.
OrangeMountainDesigns.com, Tennessee Tap House, Blue Water Climate Control. There, I got the promos in. Coach P, I want to ask you one more question about your experience in life journey, and then we'll talk about the brackets while we got a little bit of time. And Alexis, I'm going to turn that part over to you and let you talk about the brackets a bit. But I want to know, through this whole process, the life journey you've been on, what gave you hope?
Later, my faith. Earlier, my kids and my team. Not to take away anything from John, my partner, but when you show up for practice every day, and when you have to be there and be present for teams, and of course, raising children, there's no way around it. You've got to find your way to your best self. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
All right, Coach. It's about that time. We're about to talk some basketball.
Yes.
We're going to talk some basketball. All right. So, Maria, how do you want to do this? Do we want to break down? Do we want to do predictions?
I want to know who created Tennessee's bracket of doom here. I mean, UConn, Baylor, Middle Tennessee State to open. I mean, what?
I'm not worried about UConn, to be honest with you. I'm just going to.
You got to get there first. You got to get past Middle Tennessee State.
Hey, I know. And then one of my parents, of one of our high school kids that we coach and I train, he did his bracket and had MTSU beating us. And I was like, bro, I promise you right now I will stop training your kid. Like, how dare you disrespect Tennessee like that? No, but, it was all jokes. But seriously, it's going to be, you have to respect the game. It's the NCAA tournament. Anything can happen. Upsets can happen at any given time. You always have a Cinderella team. In some cases. So we're going to take that serious, but listen, we're getting out of there. I want UConn. Put it like that.
Yeah, it's that one step at a time thing. You know how it is.
Oh,
and
yeah. One game
and the fan mentality. Alexis, here's the thing, though. Like in this day and age with all this texting and all these phones and all this stuff, I mean, the fan mentality is supposed to be for the fans. Bracketology, all that kind of stuff. But now the players do it. Like you can't, if you're currently playing, you're thinking of one thing. What am I going to eat next to prepare? What's the next thing I need to do in practice? Like, I just think it's so much harder these days. And I will tell you, we took some phones away at some times just so the team could connect because there's just too much information and too much prediction. It is tough.
Did you take that strategy from Coach Summit? Because she took our phones during certain times too.
Well, I'd like to say that, and I think I say yes, because there's probably so many things I took from Coach Summit that I didn't even know I took. But I do believe in that. I do believe in the sense of being a collective and a team. And I think it's really hard in this day and age. If you're looking ahead or you're reading things, you don't really care what people write about you until it's all over and the last game is played.
Mm-hmm. I agree. One game at a time, y'all. One game at a time, one possession at a time. And you really only have to be 1 point better than the other team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was our whole 07 championship run. Shout out to Dominique Redding for that one.
Yeah, you've been a part of some neat things. I will say I'm kind of partial. You talk about predictions. Besides Tennessee, of course, which has had a great season. Everyone's doing great at Tennessee. So we've got that established. After Tennessee, Stanford, of course. You have to love Tara. She's an amazing coach, and she has a team that, frankly, I think might be the best team she's ever had in her career. And so I'm thinking Stanford, and then I'm going to definitely think about Rutgers. Why? Because Viv, you got to love these legends in the game. And I also am going to get a little bit narcissistic on you. Both of them endorse my book. And I am beyond thrilled. So I'm very biased. I'm going to look for those two schools and, of course, those two great women.
I love that. Yeah, Stanford's been killing it. Coach Stringer, she's a living legend.
Mm-hmm.
She is.
Who's your Final Four, Alexis?
Who are my Final Four? I do have Stanford in that Alamo region. Coming out of the Hemisphere region. See, this is one I've said it could be some upsets happening. The way Maryland's been playing, like just seriously, the way they've been scoring the basketball, and we know that defense and rebounding and free throws, really that's your keys to the championship. But you gotta be able to score the rock. You have to be able to do that. You have to be pretty great at it and consistent at it in order to put yourself out there. And I think Maryland has that. Now, do I want Dawn Staley to get back to that Final Four? Hell yeah, I do. Yeah. I'm a big Dawn Staley fan. I mean, I had posters on my wall as a kid of her. You know, it was great playing for her in the USA Pan Am games, like all of that. So yeah, I'm going with South Carolina on that one, but I think they're going to meet up with Maryland, and it's going to be one nice game. I'm trying not to cuss on the show, Coach P, because I'm not on my other podcast.
And I've got a sweet spot for Texas, and you may say, why Texas? Well, Kyra Lambert, my point guard, who has played this game forever, it seems, with her knee injuries. She's had an incredible impact on that team. So I've been following Texas and pulling for Texas. And of course, Charlie's amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing, and headed to the WNBA. And there's no doubt she'll be incredible at the next level.
Oh, yeah. I love Texas. UT fans, don't get mad at me. I went to, the other UT. They call themselves the real UT, but we know who we are. And I used to train there, like go use their facilities because my friend was an assistant soccer coach there for a time. I loved their facilities. I mean, Coach Charlie just let me go talk, to players and being able to watch her coach and just sit and kind of shadow her for a little bit. That was, to me, I was so appreciative of it. And I just think that they've always had, a pretty good, solid program, and they have been playing extremely well. But I kind of want to see that South Carolina, Maryland, and then South Carolina go ahead and bring it on out.
I think I'd pick South Carolina there. There's just too much experience. You mentioned Dawn, and what she's done is beyond remarkable. I mean, where South Carolina was back in the day. I mean, that story in itself, that's somebody's book. Maria, you can write that book as well.
Thank you. I'll get to work on that. I've got a second Pat Summitt book I'm supposed to be writing, but I just can't find the time.
Oh.
I've got a ton of stories that I've talked to people about, and I've got them either in my computer or on tape, and I'm still working on it. So I'm trying, people. I'm trying.
So, Coach Pete, you got Rutgers coming out of that Mercado region?
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know it as well as you do.
I'm looking at it. Don't let me.
Okay, wait a minute. What was it? Oh, NC State. Okay, here we go. This is interesting. I'm definitely going to talk about NC State, ACC, and they were so good last year. And of course, nobody played last year, but they had like one of those teams, like some other people did, like Northwestern. There was just some of these teams were absolutely at their absolute best. So I think NC State's going to move nicely, but A&M is tough. I mean, I don't know if they're both going to make it out of there. There's a lot of interesting teams there. I remember coaching against Belmont. Just watch out for them. 5 3-point shooters, very difficult for help side. I'm just going to tell you, a lot of penetrating kick with them. But overall, when I look at that region, and of course Rutgers, you know what I want them to do. So I want them playing. So, oh my gosh, and Michigan State's in there. Yep. I just thought that's a happening region. Overall, it's pretty good. But I think it'll be NC State and A&M, although it just doesn't seem likely that they both make it. It just, for some reason.
Doesn't seem likely. I don't know. NC State, man, they've been on the roll. A&M, listen, any SEC team, I'm always rooting for them. If we're not rooting for Tennessee, I'm rooting for the SEC. But yeah, I mean, you have Rutgers, you have NC State, Texas A&M, and we have to beat Rutgers to even get to that.
Yep.
To even get there, like Texas. When I say we, I mean Texas A&M, SEC. So yeah, I think NC State has a sweeter little ride.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're. I mean, West does an amazing job. They're spectacular. They're really, really good. But then again, there's Arizona floating around. I mean, there's these programs that are just great leadership, and there definitely is more equity. I mean, I know they're talking about that, getting back to Andy Landers and his hair gel, right? I mean, they're talking about, there's more teams that could possibly win it, and I do think that's very true.
It is. It's going to be a fun and interesting NCAA tournament, especially them creating their own little bubble situation. That can also factor in to when it comes to focus or just the players having their minds right, having to be so constrained and you can't do this, you got to do this. Like, come on, man, the Final Four, I mean, yeah, it's business, it's basketball, but you still got to go enjoy a meal with your family or something,
I know. I mean, the pandemic, the whole thing, I mean, it just, how is this going to work? And you just pray that every team stays in, and the only thing that takes a team out is a defeat, a great basketball game. And I'm looking at this too and wondering, how can this be accomplished? And let's just hope it is, because it's been remarkable what the student athletes have done. I've been watching all sorts of teams and missing it and been so impressed, whether it's UCLA or anybody. There are so many great coaches, so many great programs. Mm-hmm. And to think about what they've had to do. And you heard about Tara and her team and their little travel. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. I mean, this talk about more books. Tara needs another book. She needs another book on that story, because I just can't imagine how you're keeping your team together, and some of the stories of focus, and how they connect and how they deal with their isolation.
Trish Hepner said all women coaches in the Final Four. I can get behind that.
I can definitely get behind that.
I can get behind that. That's three. That's pretty good. We're 3 for 3 on that.
Yeah, Robin
Corby said West Virginia ain't too shabby. That's a good point.
Hey, that's a very good point.
I watched them in that Baylor game in their championship.
Yeah, well, Baylor, a 2 seed. I'm not sure they're happy about that either. You wonder about some of these motivators, right? I mean,
right.
Sometimes you can just kind of copy attitude. I mean, it takes 6 games to win a national title. Alexis, you know that. You go in 2s, right? You win 2, a little bit of celebrate, win 2, a little bit of celebrate, win 2, go to the White House. Generally, I think that's how it went. Of course, I never went to the White House. But the point being is there's a focus that matters. And sometimes that chip, boy, whoever has it, if they can carry it, it's kind of exhausting to carry a chip. But if they can, it'll be interesting.
Robin Corby asks, is Gino still in quarantine? Yes, he is. Gino Auriemma will miss the first 2 games because they start on March 21st and play 23rd if they win the first round. So that means he can get there March 24th. Mm-hmm. And today, Shay Ralph, an assistant coach, out of an abundance of caution, has returned home because a family member tested positive. Yeah. So as we speak, they have Chris Daly, which is like head coach material. Mm-hmm. So as of now, UConn has 2 coaches for the opening round games. So it is a strange year when a pandemic sidelines 2 coaches.
Absolutely. And Gino's energy, you can't manufacture that. I mean, that's its own thing right there. And that's tough. I mean, you feel for any program already being affected like Connecticut. And let's hope that is not a trend.
Yeah. Not only not a trend, but you're going in there like you want no excuses. We had everything in order. Coach was there, whatever. So these teams coming in, who did UConn play first? They have
Is it Stony?
High Point. No, they have High Point.
High Point. Okay.
So High Point coming in, like maybe they're focused on not having a coach or whatever. UConn's coming in to prove that they're locked in. They're fighting for a championship. So it's going to be interesting to see, do they hold that focus? Do they get shook because when they look over, they don't have Coach Ariema yelling at them and going crazy? And that typical lift me up if they're not playing well. I mean, there's so many factors that's going to go into this interesting first and second round for UConn.
And the second round, I mean, the first round is Syracuse and South Dakota State.
Right.
I mean, second round games used to be almost a cakewalk for teams.
Oh, my.
It is not anymore.
Nope. I don't ever want to play South Dakota State. I'm sorry. Have you seen them play? Like, that's a whole different style. I mean, we know about Syracuse, and Syracuse has been to a Final Four, and they have a terrific tradition. But I'm telling you, some of these teams that maybe people don't see, they have really extraordinary talents. And you're right, second rounds can turn anything now. And it used to be assumed that higher seed would move. Right.
Pat Summitt wanted parity. She wanted to promote the women's game and establish parity. And Dean Lockwood, when he was still at Tennessee's, now, of course, at Michigan State, is his home state. He said he used to walk past the picture of Pat in the hallway on the way to a game and look at it and say, Pat, are you happy now? You got what you wanted, and you're not here to help us. Because like Tennessee's first round game, that is not a guaranteed game against, and that is going to be a fight against MTSU.
But I got to say, Dean Lockwood has a lot of great things in your book. A lot of quotes, interesting stories. I know Dean, but I feel like I know him a lot better thanks to your great writing.
He is the best person to ever interview. You just put the tape recorder in front of him and say, talk, and Dean starts talking. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
The Spartans are lucky to have him. I mean, that's a great hire, and he's doing a super job, and he always does.
Any other bracket thoughts? And I know y'all might want to get dinner or have some family time, or any other bracket thoughts on your mind?
I'm good over this way. I'm just excited. I just want to wish all the players and coaches and everyone involved in the NCAA tournament, good luck, make the most of it. Stay safe, be smart. Texas is wide open, but please stay safe.
I couldn't agree more. Have fun and love the process. It's a great time, and somebody's going to go 6 for 6.
Yep.
Survive and Advance has an all new meaning in 2021. You literally are surviving and advancing. And I agree with y'all. Hats off to all these players who have dealt with this and played in a pandemic and gone through nasal swabs day in and day out. And they have done, they have done everything you could possibly do to have a safe season. Laura Ward said, okay, Alexis, I'm going to give this one to you because it's just teed up. How far does Tennessee go?
What do you mean? I'm never betting against my team. I'm always going to say we're going to win a national championship. Okay? I don't know how people. Do I have to say it again? Okay. We're going to win. That's how far I have Tennessee going. Now it's up to them to do the work and win the game. But I always believe that somehow, some way we can make it do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. CoachP.org. Please order Secret Warrior. You can order at Joanne P. McCallie's website, or Amazon major booksellers. Orange Mountain Designs. Thank you as always. Blue Water Climate Control. Tennessee Tap House. Coach P, thank you so much.
Yes.
For answering my text message, and shout out to a common friend for getting us connected. And that's why I love covering women's basketball. I never would have crossed paths with Alexis Hornbuckle had I not started covering the Lady Vols. And it has just enriched my life.
Well, Alexis, you're amazing. Thank you. And Maria M., Joanne P., Maria M., we're connected at the hip. And I just wish Tennessee the very best in the NCAA tournament.
Thank you, everyone. We will see. We'll be back on live after the Tennessee game on Sunday. It's at 2:00, so look for us about 5:00. I'm going to end the broadcast now, and Coach P, you'll just see us still on here by ourselves, and I'll let you know when it's done. Everybody, peace out.